There are many animals you can say are emblematic of the American spirits. The majestic bald eagle, the mighty Great Plains bison, a cartoon frog. One that a lot of people seem to overlook though, at least nowadays, is the rattlesnake. See, back in colonial times, England used to send her criminals to the 13 colonies in an effort to bolster the overall morale of their population. In 1751, Benjamin Franklin, America's first sex icon, wrote, "In some of the uninhabited parts of these provinces, there are numbers of these venomous reptiles we call rattlesnakes, felons convict from the beginning of the world." Flash forward a few years, and Benji Boy recycled the same rattlesnake imagery for his Join or Die political cartoon, urging the 13 colonies to unify together in opposition to the English. However, after the revolution, this became filthy federalist propaganda, and I will not subject it to you any further! A much more famous, or infamous, depending on whether or not you're a royalist traitor, example is the Gadsden flag, also known as the Don't Tread on Me flag, or No Step on Sneck if your brain has been placed in a meat retarder by the modern internet. Hell, even the English got in on it, with J. Barrow publishing his satirical cartoon just a few years later titled The American Rattlesnake Presenting His Ally the Monsieur a Dish of Frogs.
Monsieur, be pleased to accept the frogs. I have just killed them in the box. I gives my thanks to my good Allah. Some will make soup, the rest a fry.
It may not seem like much, but back then, this was cutting. Given my love for memes and appreciation for American history, I would like to offer my own political cartoon featuring a rattlesnake for posterity's sake. If you were politically active around the early 19th century, this would be the funniest fucking thing you've ever seen. But of course, the bad rep of the snake didn't start here, and it's been present in world mythology since time immemorial. Who caused Adam and Eve to commit the original sin? A little noodle boy. What kind of creature tried to eat the retiree sun god and his yacht on a daily basis? A big noodle boy. Even in ancient Greece, where today's tale with a very drawn-out prologue originated, you've got Scylla, a giant man-eating snake lady, Medusa, a cursed magical snake lady, and Echidna, a very suggestively positioned snake lady. Jesus Christ, the fetishization of caffeine needs to stop. What these Grecian snake ladies all have in common is that they are all referred to as Drakinas, a feminine version of the word drakon, which means either dragon or serpent. And that, of course, leads us to Python, another Drakina, although this time much more literally given the species name for her. Now, Python's origins are left a bit vague. Some sources say that she was born of Gaia to guard the Omphalos stone, demarking the center of the earth. Others state she is simply an offspring of Typhon and Echidna. And others still claim that she sprang from the deluge of the ancient flood which purged humanity. What's that? You didn't know the Greeks also had an ancient apocalyptic flood myth? This is why I show the links to all of my older content, ladies and gentlemen. You may think it's for my benefits, and it is, but it's also for yours. But yeah, it's mostly for mine. By the way, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end. YouTube says it'll kill me if you click off. Wherever this bad dragon originated from, the story of what happens to her is fairly homogenized. Apollo, full-time god of music and poetry, later full-time sun god, thinks he's the hottest shit around because he can play a pretty kick-ass lyre solo, and so sojourns to Earth to start his cultic temple. After trying to survey a few places, he settles on Tefulsa in western Arcadia, but quickly receives a noise complaint from the local stream nymph, also named Tefulsa, because apparently, unlike everybody else, she doesn't appreciate Apollo's kick-ass lyre solos and the bevy of orgies it provokes. So Tefulsa directs Apollo towards a place called Chrysa, which was ordained as the center of the world and was overseen by a fat-ass dragon. No, I am not being hyperbolic. The hymn to Apollo literally describes her as a, quote, bloated dragon. Class shaming and fat shaming were not beneath Homer. Thank God this wasn't written by Dobson, though. So, Apollo goes there, is immediately disgusted by the sight of Python, and shoots her with an arrow. About 100 times. He then essentially says, Die, you stupid, scaly bitch! I hope you choke on your own blood and your corpse rots away in the sun like a roadkill squirrel Messiah's father intentionally swerved to hit while he was in a car just to traumatize him! I am paraphrasing, but unfortunately I am not lying. Oh, and by the way, that's where Python's name comes from. The Greek word Pythian, meaning to rot, so I guess the name is posthumous. Apollo then names the rest of the area Pytho, which is better known to us plebs as Delphi. From there, Apollo puts 2 and 2 together and figures Tephalsa sent him to Delphi to die by the jaws of Python, and so he dams up her stream and essentially tells her to go fuck herself. And they all... Okay, well, really only Apollo lived happily ever after, but hey, at least somebody was. Alright, time for some nerd shit. Keep in mind, everything I'm about to say is speculation, but that's like 95% of mythology. Drunk editing Messiah here. I want to cut in and say that everything I'm about to say might be legit, but the entire story may also be a retelling of Marduk versus Tiamat, and I'm just being really, really autistic right now. Which is why I don't have any friends. Okay, back to the video. Let's start off with a lightning round of fun facts. Apollo, and a few other Hellenistic Greek gods, are likely of foreign descent, as the Mycenaean pantheon, the earliest incarnation of these figures we have which are written out for us, fails to include him in the initial roundup. Alright, hold on, stop. The whole video has to come to a stop right now, because some of you might be saying to yourself, actually, Messiah, if you look at the Wikipedia page of the Mycenaean deities, it does actually list Apollo as one of them. And I also happen to go to the AI answers, and it also lists Apollo very clearly in the results. So you're wrong, and you should go back in time and abort yourself. Well, actually, Reddit, if you bother to fucking read, it says very clearly, the Linear B tablets from the sites of Knossos and Pylos confirm the worship of these gods, though Apollo is noticeably absent from some records and may have been less prominent in early Mycenaean times. And if you expand that answer a little bit more to the tab which says, what evidence shows Apollo's limited presence in Mycenaean religion, Finish says, Apollo's limited presence in Mycenaean religion is primarily indicated by his absence in Linear B tablets, where his name does not appear directly. You can even see this if you actually bother to read the tab over here on Wikipedia, where it very conveniently has a question mark next to his name, which says, perhaps attested through, though doubted, Lacanus Perio. Meaning, these fucking chuckle fucks have no idea, and they are purely fucking speculating, and I'm about to provide a much more likely answer as to where Apollo comes from. So, lesson of the day, don't trust AI, and don't go into my fucking comment section thinking that you know better than me. Suck my dick. I'm the funny mythology man. Okay, addendum over. In fact, one of the speculated origins of Apollo's name is the Doric word apella, meaning wall, fence, or colloquially border, denoting him as from a neighboring yet altogether foreign culture. Let's also consider that snakes are a commonality in older, more antiquated chthonic mythologies, predating the arrival of the celestial-focused Aryan cultures coming into town and leaving their fingerprints everywhere. Hell, we did a whole video on the speculated Pelasgian creation story, and how the matriarchal goddess procreated everything by shoving a big-ass snake into her pussy. I've been doing this for over 7 years. Imagining that Python was a local cultic goddess of the land, and Apollo as the broad-shouldered, big-dicked god of a foreign and far more powerful land, and suddenly the subtext of the story becomes a lot more simpler to understand. This is a tale about the dominance and upheaval of an old god in favor of a new one. You can take the subplot of Apollo damming up Tephalsa's river, that sounds so much more suggestive than it actually is. As a continuation of this theme, since he's taking a local goddess and essentially putting her in her place because he's Apollo! He's the hot new shit! Also, since this was going to be the theme of the Pelasgos character study, I'm gonna go ahead and decanonize that now and use him as yet another example of this mythological colonialism, or whatever the fuck your purple-haired sociology professor may call it. Like I said before, Pelasgos in of himself is rather unremarkable, as his only real consistent achievement in the mythos is to be the progenitor of the Pelasgians, which if you've actually bothered watching that video and you aren't just being an asshole, you'd realize is a pretty inconsequential feat in the grand scheme of things. However, after the patriarchal Aryans, yes, I am still calling that because Proto-Indo-European sounds like a dessert no one in my family has made since my great-grandmother died, Pelasgos lost all of his ancient footing as the king of the native peoples in the region, who was autonomously born from the earth by a matriarchal progenitor goddess, who conveniently is never mentioned to be a goddess ever again, to being the claimant offspring of so many male figures imported into that mythology, you'd think it was tax season. Some of these figures include Arestor, Tropoeus, Poseidon, and most unsurprisingly, Zeus, who for the umpteenth time could not refuse sticking his dick into an underage nymph. The theme is basically the same between Fat Snake Lady and Unremarkable Loser. More matriarchal elements exist within a certain region of the world, patriarchal elements get imported from more base cultures, certain figures get relegated to either villains or beta males in what used to be their religion, and I cannot believe that I was actually about to dedicate a whole month or so of my life to giving a mythological character study to this. Now this loser, on the other hand... Thank you all so much for watching my TED Talk today. My name is Besides Mythology. I've actually been banned from attending TEDx, which should tell you something since they let one of the Columbine shooter's mothers talk there. I make vaguely interesting mythology videos like this all the time, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, you may as well subscribe, even though I hate this platform. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, my name is Besides Mythology, and I hope you all have a God's blessed day and a good yard.